On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we recap OU's loss to Arizona in the Alamo Bowl, and then Stanford Steve joins us to preview the college football playoff semifinals. And that's it. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Friday, December 29th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there's so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of December, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. Now, we're recording this on Friday night. Please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment. Oh boy, Ted. Interesting night in San Antonio, my friend.
Yeah, very interesting. That was I don't know. It went from I really the way the game started off, I wasn't too surprised with. I thought there was going to be like a quick burst of energy and emotion from Arizona, and we'd settle in and just kind of take over from that point. And I felt really strongly like that's what we were watching during the second and third quarter. And oh my goodness, I don't know if I've ever seen a game flip like that. I mean, that was pretty wild
It
in a bad way.
was it was an emotional roller coaster for you and I. I mean, my goodness. But let's do what we always do, man. Let's start on the defensive side of the ball. What'd you think?
It's so weird to say this, but I thought the defense played good. You know, um, McMillan for them, he's incredible. He's coming off that huge performance against Arizona State. He came into the game with over 1,200, nearly 1,300 yards receiving, 10 touchdowns. He's 6'5". He can run. He's a good route runner. Kid's a star.
I
And
Do
you know,
you agree? I thought he was the best player on the entire field.
no doubt,
Both teams, I thought he was the best player on the field.
no doubt. Yeah, easily. Um, he's good. He's really good, and they do a great job highlighting him in their offense. They move him around. They put him in different spots, just to where they can manipulate some space on the defense and give him a little extra room to work. He can go deep. He can catch the short stuff. He's fast. He's really good. And he had some big numbers. But outside of that, when you consider that the offense turned the ball over 6 times, like all of that, I thought the defense did some really good stuff. Pressured the quarterback, stuffed the run. They didn't run the football at all on us. Now, we gave up some stuff in the passing game. I mean, yes to McMillan, but just in general, like one of the things that we've got to continue to get better at, and I think this year was light years better than it's been in years past. Underneath coverage from the linebackers and safeties whenever they are not playing deep, whenever they're playing like whenever we insert a safety in cover 3 to play a hook. We do not relate well to receivers consistently. There's times when we do a really good job. I thought Stutzman had one where he read the tight end on a crosser this way, zone turned, found him over here, and made a play on the football. That's great stuff. We just don't do it often enough, and we get lost, and our eyes are constantly on the quarterback instead of finding the guy that we're supposed to relate to. But I thought the defensive line did a really good job getting to the quarterback. We stayed in like a 3-man look for most of the night, and I thought Coe was destructive. I thought Luulu did good. I thought Bothroyd had one of the best games that he has had in a while. Did some really good stuff against some of that outside zone that they did. Turned into a factor in some of the tunnel screens that they threw on the outside. I thought he did some really good stuff. It was good to see. Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? 32.
Or
Um,
Mason Thomas.
our Mason Thomas. It was good to see him healthy and get in on the action. Had a nice sack where he ran the hoop on the outside. Um, corner has been one of those things for us this year where it's just kind of been a revolving door because of injury. And it was the same on Saturday night or Thursday night, rather. We got to see several different guys through there. Kanai Walker had the interception. Um, I saw some guys get up and challenge at the line of scrimmage with some press and stuff and look pretty good. But I think our defense ran out of energy and ran out of emotion late in that football game. They kept, getting stops, forcing, uh, you know, big negative yardage plays that force Arizona to punt it. A couple of times they forced field goals on really tough situations, and it was just over and over and over, and felt like they finally their back was broken. They couldn't do it anymore, and the floodgates kind of opened up there. But it's an interesting football game to look at it and evaluate defensively because there was so much good in there, and it all just gets pushed aside when you look at the final result and a couple of the big plays that they hit. What was it? It's the first interception, I think. After they kicked that field goal, we threw an interception, and I was like, here it comes. They're throwing a bomb on us. And sure enough, I thought it was going to be to McMillan, but I think it was Cowing that caught it in the back of the end zone. Just a beautiful throw, toe touch in the back of the end zone. They hit that one on us and hit a couple of other big plays. The big crosser, they ran McMillan on the clear out and hit the crosser to Cowing all the way across. Hit us on that big one for a touchdown. And you can't give those plays up. But whenever you look at everything and the way the game unfolded, I thought there was some stuff defensively that was really good. And I feel really positive moving forward for next year's defense. I think next year and we'll see what the final roster looks like, especially on the defensive line, but I would be shocked, saddened, disappointed if next year's not the best defense that we've had around here in a long time, considering the senior leadership coming back, some of the young star power, the athleticism that we've got. Next year's defense should be really good.
I I thought they played the run really well. If you would have told me, and the sack yardage factors in, right? What they sacked
Big,
Fafita 5 times, hit him a
yeah,
lot more than that.
yeah,
And I think he ended up with like negative 35 yards rushing in the game.
yeah,
As a team, because of the sack yardage, they ended up with 29 yards rushing. And now their running backs, which we liked all three of those backs coming into it, 27 yards rushing, 20 yards rushing, and 19 yards rushing. If you would have told me that's what they're going to get from their three backs, I would have said, does OU win by 10 or 21?
yeah. I know.
I, unfortunately, in the three losses that the Sooners have had, we've had to come on here and say the exact same thing. Offense didn't hold up their end of the bargain. That's just I once again I went back and watched the game. The defense played well enough to win, man. I'm with
Yeah,
you. And that is you finish the season 10-3. And if you listen to all three recap episodes after the losses, You're going to hear the same thing.
Yeah.
Thought the defense played pretty good. Offense didn't hold up their end of the bargain. That's how I saw it.
Would we turn it over 12 times in our 3 losses? Is that
I was
right?
about to throw up on the sideline last night. I I
It's
thought
tough.
I was going to be physically ill.
It's a tough watch. Now, I do want to say defensively, a couple of guys that I thought really stood out. How about Kip Lewis on that ankle coming back in and making some great plays?
Whatever he had at halftime, I want some. I want that real bad. I don't know because he was, for those of you that weren't there, I don't know what they showed on the broadcast. He could barely like walk around once he hurt that ankle in the first half. And they were spatting it and respatting it. And he was trying everything. And he was kind of an emotional wreck on the sideline. You could just
Yeah.
tell he was pissed. Man, he was pissed. He wanted to be out there. And at one point, I looked at him, I was like, dude, at some point, just go sit down. You're just causing yourself more harm than good. And then he comes jogging out of the locker room like nothing's wrong with a pep in his
First
step.
one. He was the first one out at halftime and went over there behind the bench area and was jogging around trying to make sure it felt right. And he went out, made some big plays, a couple of big tackles for loss, a couple of just nice physical plays against the run. Uh, Thrilled about him. I thought Kendall Dolby had a really good night. Big factor, was a big factor blitzing, had a couple of pass breakups. I think he tipped that ball or broke up that ball that Kanai Walker ended up intercepting. Thought he was good.
Thought he
And I,
played fast, man.
yeah, yeah,
I
he
mean,
looked good.
credit to Cowing and McMillan. Those dudes can run. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought Kendall Dolby was, out of all the guys in the secondary, like Kendall Dolby was the one that looked like he was playing at their speed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he was good. And I know we touched on these two guys a little bit, but I thought Isaiah Coe maybe played his best game of the season, maybe as a Sooner. How disruptive he was, and Bothroyd. I thought Bothroyd, even though his stat line may not be great, he played really well. He was a big factor.
Poe took that small little center from Arizona straight backwards a couple times. And I don't know if he got credited for those sacks or not, but he should because he
Yeah.
was the reason that they happened. And then you mentioned Arizona had run that outside zone concept and they get to it in a multitude of ways. They had run it with a lot of success. And the key to it on that front side is you got to dent the front side with your zone combinations on the front side. And Bothroyd was just taking that tackle and putting him in the backfield. And it
Mm-hmm.
just completely killed that concept for him multiple times. So I saw it the exact same way you did with Bothroyd.
Yep. Yep. He was good. Um, there was plenty of good stuff there. And again, I hate the way that the game ended and they just kind of ran out of steam. I mean, because they were rolling second, third quarter. It was like, oh, we're going to steamroll these guys. Fafita couldn't even. He was worried about was what was happening with the offensive line. Eyes weren't downfield. He was as panicked and out of sorts as he was the entire year of anything that I watched. I mean, you should have saw their sideline. They were the offense. The coaches were yelling at each other, and Fafita was like, he was just done. And Coach Fish was over there trying to get him going and pleading with him on some stuff, and they were a mess on the sideline second, third quarter, and then we know what happened.
Yes, we do. Anything else? OU's defense.
I'm I'm proud of the way that these guys played this year. It The end result wasn't everything that they wanted, wasn't everything that we wanted, but there was so much good in there throughout the season from a bunch of guys. And I know it's maybe not what everyone wants to hear right now, but I think the future is really bright for this defense.
Agreed. All right, let's get to what we saw from OU's offense against Arizona's defense. But first, Love's Travel Stops is now offering a nationwide 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel. Just download the Love's Connect app and scan your barcode at the prompt on screen and watch that price drop 10 cents per gallon. Across the country, the Love's Connect app unlocks exclusive deals can help any traveler plan their route or meal on the highway. So before you hit the road, be sure to download the Love's Connect app to save 10 cents per gallon and experience the country's best highway hospitality at Love's Travel Stops. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones with their expanded mobile to-go zone. And of course, don't forget to grab yourself some of that delicious Java Amore.
The Land Doctors have a 120-acre property for sale in East Norman, located just 10 minutes from campus. This completely wooded property sits at the intersection of East 120th Street and Tecumseh Road. If you're looking for a quiet place to go spend some time in the outdoors or a nice little hunting spot on the outskirts of town, this place is for you. There are also development and business opportunities with this property as well. Call Colton Cole to schedule a private showing at 405-615-7645 or shoot him an email at colton@landdoctors.com.
And celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you can join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU Athletics events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit SchoonerAle.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day. Oh boy. So this has been an offensive driven program for a while. And now all three losses this season, I feel like we're on the offense. And you mentioned it, Ted. It's the same story in all those games. And this just took it to another level. Turnovers. Sticks. I don't even really know what to say about the turnover issue. But I know this. You're not beating anyone turning the ball over 6 times. The fact that this game was as close as it was just speaks to how well OU's defense played. 6 turnovers and you only lose by 14 points. All I know is that's unacceptable. And the number one issue that I believe you and I have with running an offense that is an RPO driven offense is that the defense can dictate what you do. And that is exactly what Arizona did. I saw a lot of people, why aren't they running it on the first drive? Why would they come out and throw it? Because Jackson Arnold was doing what he's coached to do. When you are in the yes-no style of decision-making at quarterback, which is what this offense is, like if you get this look, yes, you throw the RPO. If you don't get this look, no, you hand it off. They gave him yes looks all game long. Yeah, throw it. Throw it. And we'll change the picture afterwards. And a couple of times he threw it right to him. And that is my biggest, well, that's not my biggest complaint. My biggest complaint is how it affects the way that your offensive line comes off the ball. My second biggest complaint is that the defense can line up a certain way that dictates what you do offensively. And I think we saw quite a bit of that from Arizona's defense. And a couple of the interceptions Jackson Arnold threw, all he has to do is hand it off. They're blocked well. I know a lot of people want to get on the offensive line for all the holds. Yeah, some of them are bad. Some of them, they're also blocking runs, and Jackson Arnold's holding the ball for 3 seconds, making a decision in the RPO game. That is not on the offensive line. And I'm as critical as that group as anyone you'll find. I don't know, man. A lot of it, I just went back and watched them. I hate that they were able to dictate what OU did as much as they did. But that is the 2023 Oklahoma offense. My hope is moving forward, they get away from quite a bit of that. That's my hope.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I mean, you got to credit Arizona for challenging. I mean, and this is nothing new. We've seen this over the last 2 years. Like, this is what teams ultimately want to do. They want to come up, play us in some tight man-to-man coverage, and see if you can win. See if you can win the one-on-ones, and see if you can make the throws. And especially with a young quarterback, like, force him to throw it into some one-on-one coverage. It's a good game plan, and ultimately it looked hairy there for a little while for them, like things were going to unravel, but they just kept playing, and we kept giving them the football.
Oh, yeah. Let's just hit the position groups real quick. Jackson Arnold, if you would have told me he was going to throw for 361 yards before the game, I would have said, hey, call this Heisman statue guy. Tell him to get ready because it's coming. 361 yards. Now, of course, all the interceptions, but in shocking news, the game moved a little fast at times for a true freshman making his first start against a good football team. I mean, and let's start with the positive. He made some of the best throws we've seen all year.
Live arm. He's got a good arm.
The touchdown throw to Nick Anderson, where he's sprinting to his left, contorts his body back to the right. Now, that was a hell of a catch by Nick to drag both feet. That's a first round throw. That's what that is. And it was one of those moments where he makes that throw, and I'm standing around some of the coaches and some of the player personnel guys, and we all look at each other like, whoa, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The long one to Brennan Thompson. Now, he had to slow down just a little bit, but not a lot of it.
Yeah.
And that was just because the ball was a count late, but you can just see he put that thing on an absolute line. Touchdown. I thought another positive. He looks really athletic to me. Getting out of the pocket, using
Yep.
his legs. Now he needs to work on his sliding technique. There's a couple where he's just like crumbling.
Double
It's like,
knee slide.
yeah, we need to work on looking a little more athletic in some of those situations. But I thought it was pretty clear that his athleticism, his ability to extend plays and keep his eyes down the field, like, that's going to be a big weapon for him moving forward. There was a lot of positive, man, but then the mistakes, right? The mistakes. Now, the first interception's interesting. He tries to look the safety off. I mean, you can see him turn his head and try to look him off, but the ball's just a count late. And it looked to me like that was just a good concept for Arizona. It's like they're well coached. They doubled Drake Stoops. Now, you
Yeah.
can say, oh, it's cover one, and that guy's just hanging in the middle of the field, and he's taking you can call it whatever technique you want to call it, cut technique, jump technique, whatever you want to call it. He's taking any in-breaking route that Drake Stoops runs, and that's exactly what he does. Jackson's got one-on-one everywhere else. But he went to the security blanket, and Arizona was banking on him doing that. Got him. Good play, bud. I mean, that one's just a good play
Yep.
by them. The second one's true play action. Ball's just late. He takes an extra hitch. If you're going to rip it down the sideline with the safety in the middle of the field who can cover ground, got to throw it early. You got to sneak it in there. The third interception, hand the ball off. The picture's a little cloudy. I mean, he throws it right to the apex player, man. The guy doesn't move at all. The guy is standing exactly where I think it was Drake was running his route. You got to see that. If you're unsure, hand the ball off in the RPO game. But ultimately, I think it's going to be a really good learning experience for him. and it's the type of game that is going to lead to some serious growth for him because there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good. There's a lot to be excited about. And then, of course, the decision making, the processing, like everything's gotta speed up, gotta become more efficient, and that will come with more reps.
Yeah, I agree. I think I I don't come away from that game changing my opinion on Jackson Arnold at all. In fact, I think some of the stuff I saw reinforced what I hoped and think the future looks like for him. Um, if if you're going to stumble and take some hard lessons, do it in one like this at the end of the season when everything else has already really been decided. And I don't want to say it's a game that doesn't mean anything. Every game that you play in means something, but that is a good place to learn some hard lessons. And I think he'll grow, like you said, big growth opportunity from that.
I'm with you. All right, Gavin Sawchuk, touchdown run was fantastic execution. They go tackle over, send Rouse over to play the right tight end spot. They run GT counter. They pull Schaefer. They pull Stogner from the backside. Good patience from Sawchuk. Just beautiful. Hits it when he sees it, just accelerates as fast as I've ever seen him accelerate through a hole in his career at OU. Just an awesome play. The 60-yard, it wasn't a touchdown, but the 60-yard run in the second quarter. As fast and as explosive as I've seen him look on tape. Just looked like he was hauling, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tweaks the hammy again. And credit to him for trying to battle through that. But it was clear once he tweaked that hammy, he kind of got in the open field and pulled up. Once he tweaked, he just wasn't the same guy the rest of the way. And the fact that they can't turn to Javonte Barnes, that they have to put a hurt Gavin Sawchuk out there. I don't know, man. I don't know what's happened to that guy.
I don't know. He looked great last year at times. I mean, you go back to the bowl game, looked fantastic, but even throughout the season last year, they didn't get a lot of opportunities, but when he came in with juice.
So when they ran it, when they handed the ball off, it was a little rough early, but what did Sawchuk average? Almost 9 yards a carry. And if you take away the 62-yarder, he still averaged 5 a carry. So I don't know. Wide receivers, Drake Stoops. I don't know what else to say about that guy. I wish everyone on the offense would have played with the energy and the edge that he played with. Watching him and Manu go at it, just jawing at each other the entire game, that was fun. I mean, Drake gets absolutely smoked, gets his helmet knocked off, and is talking trash in that dude's face. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, man.
That's one of the most frustrating things of the whole game for me is that apparently Arizona at all the functions all week was talking all kinds of shit nonstop.
Right.
And when the game started, it was more of the same. It was nonstop. And that's Arizona. You know what I'm saying? That's Arizona. That's the
That's
frustrating thing to me. You
I
know,
I don't want to take anything away from Arizona. I think Jed Fish is a hell of a football coach. I'm not sure how long he's going to be there.
yeah.
I think he's going to get a big time job. And what he's done with that program is, I mean, it's impressive. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
I know we didn't have some guys, but you got to beat Arizona, man.
Have to.
You don't lose to Arizona in football if you're Oklahoma.
The whole four quarters should have looked like the second and third quarter.
That's why I'm really glad that you had to catch the charter flight back after the game. I'm really glad we didn't record right after the game because both you and I were, what's the best way to put it? Hot.
Yeah. It
steaming
was,
a little bit.
yeah.
But
Mm.
Drake Stoops, I don't know what else we could say. His effort on Farouk's second fumble, right, the one that gets returned for the touchdown, they ended up ruling it a fumble. Drake Stoops on that play, it's a microcosm of him as a football player. He's doing everything on the play. He goes in motion. He yo-yos back. They fake a handoff to him. He carries out the fake with intensity and speed. Ball goes to the other side of the field. Farouk, I get maybe the guy's helmet hits right on the ball. I don't know. Secure the football, man. But Drake Stoops sprints faster than anyone else is running on the field and makes it interesting around the goal line. Like it's just another reason why I'm really going to miss that guy in an OU uniform.
Yep.
Farouk, the fumbles are absolute backbreakers. My goodness. First one, you got a ton of momentum. You just went on your first touchdown drive. The offense is finally feeling good about things. The defense gets the pick. Jackson Arnold throws an absolute strike. You go and fumble the ball inside the 10-yard line. Just brutal. It's points off the board. Points off the board. Then late third, looks like you are going to put the game away. Another nice throw from Jackson Arnold to Farouk. He protects him, throws it to his back shoulder, away from the guy that's going to hit him, tries to protect him. I don't really know what happened there. I don't know if the guy just perfectly put his helmet on the ball or what, but ball goes flying in the air. They return it for a touchdown. Completely changed the game from that point. It was all Arizona from that point. I don't know how else to put it, but Jalil Farouk's going to want to forget that game.
He's going to forget the whole season. He had at least, that I can just remember off the top of my head, twice as many turnovers as he had touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns on the entire season.
Mm. I I would assume he'll be
When our
back next
number one,
season.
yeah, when our number one guy went down to Texas, and like you got this big, vacuum of playmaking that needs to happen at the wide receiver spot. It's tough.
Nick Anderson, some good things. The touchdown catch, my goodness, that was awesome. I really liked the little 2-man tunnel screen concept they went with,
Mm-hmm.
and just a little exchange there, and he did something with it. I really like the wiggle he showed there. Like that was as sudden as he's looked. Like we knew he had long speed, good route running, but the suddenness he displayed there, that got me excited. Brennan Thompson, that dude can run.
Yes, he can.
I did they show him stumbling and staggering on the broadcast?
I
That
don't
dude, that
think
was
so.
that was hard to watch in person.
Yeah, I just caught the back end of it.
Ooh, man. I mean, it
Yeah.
was it was the classic fall
He,
down, get up, stumble, fall down, get up, stumble. It was bad, man.
yeah. Hopefully
Oh,
he's okay.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
weird because
He
I
hit his head
thought
on the ground.
that's what it looked like, but even that didn't look incredibly violent. I thought, as the play unfolded and I'm watching the return down to the end zone, and then I look back and see him wobble and go down again for the final time. I didn't see the first couple, but I saw the last one. I thought, surely we've got a targeting that we're going to be looking at here at a minimum. But the hit was clean and didn't look like it was much to the head, and his head hit the ground when he went down. But I was shocked at the result. But hey, that was a huge play in the game because they were going to have to figure out a way to deal with that speed out there if they were going to try and stay in that man-to-man coverage. They were
They
not going to be able to do that.
well, they didn't have an answer for it.
Yeah.
On the play he gets hurt. I mean, he creates an incredible amount of separation.
Yeah. And if he If he spins out of that cleanly, there ain't no one that's going to catch him. Forget about it.
No. But yeah, he was on his way to having a massive second half in that game. It, and the touchdown and even the play he got hurt on, it just makes you wonder, like, why doesn't he play more? I mean,
I
the
don't
guy
know.
he's clearly the fastest player on the team.
And he'll
Now,
be the fastest player on the field anytime he's out there.
yeah, so yeah, maybe he continues to battle some nagging injuries. It seems like that's been his biggest issue, but he gave the team a spark. There's no doubt about it. Offensive line, let's finish this up. I just not good enough. The holding penalties were absolute killers. Now, I'm of the opinion that some of them, it's not on the offensive line. If you're going to throw the RPO, throw the damn football, okay? Because those guys are blocking run. They are blocking run. But so a little bad luck, you stop your feet, you get tired late, some lazy stuff late that was disappointing. I really don't have a ton of thoughts on what they did in the run game because they threw it on so many of the called RPOs. When they did hand it off, Sawchuk averaged 8.9 per carry. You remove the 62 yarder, then Sawchuk had 14 carries for 72 yards. That's over 5 a carry. So if you want to say they were god awful, okay, go ahead. I thought pass protection was pretty decent too. The holdings, yeah, some of them were absolute backbreakers, but
I thought it felt to me like a lot of the holdings, especially late, ended up being just kind of a symptom of the way the game unfolded. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? If you don't turn it over 6 times, they're not hanging on for dear life at the end of the game.
I'm I'm with you. Like the one that Rouse gets. I mean, he's got his guy locked up for 4.5, 5 seconds. Then Jackson Arnold goes out to the left. His guy tries to break it. Like he's got him locked. That's not a bad play by him. It's not. You can't convince me that's a bad play by him. If you say that's a bad play, in my opinion, you're an idiot. But yeah, it was frustrating. I thought for the most part, like the pass protection, it had been a strength of the guys that were on this offensive line all season long. And with a couple of those guys out, 3 of those guys out, I thought the protection was pretty good. It's not like you compare what was happening to Fafita to what was happening to
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold. Like it's not even close, man.
Yeah.
So I get the criticism, and it absolutely wasn't good enough, but it's not like it was god awful.
Right.
You just got to run the damn ball sometimes. You got to have some call it runs. You got to have more of them. Um, I will say I was, and I know that the game was absolutely slipping away from him, but the sixth turnover, you can't let your quarterback get blasted like that on a 3-man rush on a simple twist game. That's terrible. Terrible.
Yep.
Guys had a long day. You can't, 3-man rush, a simple like nose in twist and a 3-man rush, and he comes scot free and blasts your quarterback in the face. Like that's awful ball. Awful.
It's a twist is coming from somewhere in a 3-man rush. They're not going to just go straight. it's and it can come from this side or that side. I don't know. I,
I just a few thoughts. Um, Rouse was really emotional after the game. Guy cares. Was he a perfect player? No, but he just might have been the most consistent guy that OU had this season. Um, Caleb Schaefer, I thought that he battled. He clearly got tired, and he doesn't have the athleticism. Troy Everett, props to him for playing through a lot of that second half with the knee injury. He clearly was in a lot of pain and just kept playing on one leg.
mm-hmm.
Showed me something. Now he had some bad plays in the first half, but for the most part, thought held up pretty dang well. Hopefully that knee's nothing serious. And then Sexton is just bottom line. Guys got to get stronger. It's going to be a really, really, really good player. He has to live in the weight room all winter. Don't let him out. Lock him in there. Make him sleep in it because they need him to be a damn player next season. And he's got to get stronger with this team heading in the SEC. That's all I got, man. Frustrated. I'm really glad we waited today. So I would have been screaming and cussing, and I know a lot of people listen with their kids, and they all would have been mad at me, but was able to cool off a little bit. And the bottom line is I didn't love what we saw offensively. I hope that it changes in the offseason from some standpoints. I'm excited about Jackson Arnold. A couple of those throws made me go, oh. But there's no doubt there's holes to be filled. But just it's frustrating that all three games, the same thing. Offense letting the team down. It's frustrating, man.
Well, the last thing I'll say about it is this. We got a bunch of young guys to be excited about, and I think the future looks bright. But as a football team, everyone, offense, defense, special teams, we have to be a smarter football team. We have to be a more disciplined football team, and we have to be a tougher football team. And those three things have nothing to do with your recruiting ranking, where you transferred, how big of an NIL deal you have. It's like we have to win every game on those three things. That's where we have to start. And unfortunately, it wasn't there enough this year. It was there from a handful of guys and some great moments from the team, but not nearly consistent in those three easy factors.
No doubt. Credit to Arizona. It's a good football team. Nice end to a special season for that program. Let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys your number one takeaway from the loss. Dimitri Flowers chimes in and says Joe John Finley and Seth Luttrell coming out with a reverse followed by a shot play back-to-back out of the half has me very optimistic about the offense next year. I like it. Thanks, Dimitri. That makes me feel better. He's right, though.
It was good. And
what was Gavin Freeman doing?
YOLO.
Fair enough. It was a hell of a hurdle. I mean, there was people in the way, but it was a hell of a hurdle.
I think really what it was is they were hiding the speed that they had out there on the field that they were about to go deep with. Get you enamored and forget about who you're about to cover. You know, with the reverse play, kind of scrambles the brain a little bit for a play, breaks some of your rules, and then, you know, hit the burner down the middle of the field.
Nice. All right, this other one comes from 955 Rap, who says separation is such an important word in football. On one hand, you need it. On the other hand, you must avoid it. Receivers must separate from defenders. Receivers must not get separated from the ball. Separation cost us the game. It's a pretty interesting way of putting it. Separation cost us this game.
When we had an opportunity to punch it in and go up and have the bus drivers for Arizona go out and light up the old diesel engines and get ready to hit the airport.
A missed opportunity. Gosh. That was just a backbreaker. My goodness. Let's talk a little college football playoff with the one and only Stanford Steve. But first,
elevate your tailgate with Chapel Supply and Equipment in Oklahoma City. Chapel Supply and Equipment has generators and inverters on hand that'll give you all the power you need so you can take your tailgate to the next level. They've also got top-of-the-line heaters to keep you warm during those cold tailgates later in the season. They're Oklahoma-owned and operated. Elevate your tailgate by calling 405-495-1722 or visit chapelsupply.com. That's CHAPPELL supply.com.
And First Fidelity Bank knows how to keep fans like you happy. With more than 50 awards in the last 5 years, including Forbes Best in State Bank, the Oklahoma's Community Choice Awards, and the Journal Records Reader Rankings, it is clear that they're Oklahoma's #1 pick for quality banking. And you can find that level of outstanding service in everything FFB offers. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, Bishop McGuinness offers a college prep curriculum that includes 22 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available.
And head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED, for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. Coming up, Stanford Steve, let's go. It is our pleasure to be joined by a man you can see on College Game Day. You may have heard of it. You can also see him on SportsCenter. May have heard of it. Stanford Steve is in the house. What's going on, big guy?
Gentlemen, happy holidays. Awesome to be back with you. We'll get into it, but the whirlwind of this season is definitely, it's sunk in now that we're in bowl season heavy duty, and but it's awesome to be on with you guys for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy to take stock of a season where you got a team in the playoff whose coach was barely with them this year. You've got like transfer portal stuff going crazy right now. It's college football is as weird as it's ever been.
No doubt, and like it's so good you pointed that out because I'm watching these games now, and you know Minnesota, that story's out. Like I hope this kid plays well. They had to give him $30,000 to play quarterback because they didn't have another one because everybody left. And then the idea that you're in the portal, but you're going to play in the bowl game, I don't know how that resonates. I mean, guys, we grew up in the locker room, you know, like what, I mean, bowl games were the best weeks of my college life. And now you have guys opting out to go in the portal and leave and not go to them. Then you have guys that are, I'll play, but I'm not going to be here after the game. Like the whole mindset of this is totally weird. You said it, just weird to me. But we do have plenty of teams with motivation. You know, I look at a team like Missouri who took, you know, overexceeded expectations, and now they get a chance to play Ohio State in a big time bowl game. Like they're going to be, they're going to be ready. You know, you obviously got two, you know, incredible games for the playoff. So I'm really interested to see how these teams have handled the weeks after the season and now bowl games and moving forward, not knowing what rosters are and all that stuff.
I definitely, you know, we've got you on to preview the semifinals, but before we dive into both of those games, what has it been like, right? Part of College Game Day, right? You take over, you're there at the desk, you're on the set. Like what has that change been like for you? Because now, I mean, you're on College Game Day every weekend. That's a big damn deal, man.
Yeah, well, the turnover was something that I was expecting to be different. You know, I'm a night guy, you know, working with Scott at SportsCenter. We're midnight Eastern, we're live every night. And then to turn around and be the morning guy. And it still sticks in my brain. The first week we're in Charlotte and everybody's like, oh, you know, neutral crowd. It'll be fun. It'll be Charlotte. It'll be hot. And we literally were staying over across the street from our set. And I'm the new guy, so I got the early SportsCenter hit at 7:30 in the morning. And the sun's barely up, but, you know, the DJ's rocking with music. Like, it is a party right there at 7:30, and just on that whole walk over, hearing music, hearing the crowd noise, hearing North Carolina and South Carolina do their chants at that early in the morning. And then I'm getting mic'd up, and it's like, all right, you got to get ready to talk live on TV. Like this, it was just a total 360 from what, or 180 from what I'm accustomed to, as Scott and I are in a studio and no one's in there and we're wondering if anybody's watching that show, to, hey, these people need you to perform right now. So the idea of going from a night guy to a morning guy was, I mean, that we hit that thing running quick. But the energy of that show, what it brings, along with the people at the set, the students, the fan bases, no matter what it is, they're there before we are. Seeing people, get in line in Seattle. We get done on Friday, with our College Football Live and different SportsCenter tapings at, I think it was 4 o'clock local, and the line's already started. It's raining. Like, these kids are sleeping outside to get up, or I don't know if they got up, but they may have just stayed up, and we're on the air for game day. And, I'm out there at, I think, God, what time was that tape? 4:30 in the morning, to get that thing going. And it's rocking. I mean, there's not a place to stand on the quad. And again, it's misting. It's not great conditions. But to see that go out west, and feel that, Washington, I've always said, is the loudest place I ever played in. With all the science and the overhangs, and when Washington's rocking, they got it. And just to see it like that fan base is all the way in. And I've always thought the world of them. That Pacific Northwest, I saw it with the Seahawks game a couple of weeks ago, and I finally figured it out. Like, they don't care what the conditions are because they're so used to it. And I talk to people that go and play there, like even, guys in the Eagle set, they're wondering what gloves they're going to wear, long sleeves, or we're going to go, thermal underneath. Like, that whole week, all you're thinking about is, what am I going to wear for the game? And these people just show up in a t-shirt and then throw, a slicker on, and they're ready to go. So it to see all of that in week after week after week, is been absolutely astounding. But the whole thing that helps and drives it is the energy. No matter where you look, it's just a genuine energy that you don't get on a daily basis, especially not in a studio in Washington, D.C. with Scott at midnight. You got to create your own energy and excitement, So that's what it's been. The guys have been incredible of accepting me in and bringing me along for the ride. So I can't wait to get to Pasadena. We got 2 shows on Saturday and Monday to get this thing cranked up, and we'll hit it running.
It looks like a well-oiled machine. Now, I know you're in the fire. There's chaos everywhere. There's crowd. Are there any behind the scenes things of total panic? Because whenever you guys are, it looks great. Everyone looks like they're right there in their element. But I gotta imagine every now and then behind the scenes, there's some stuff that's just going crazy.
No doubt. And I think that has to do more with the truck, the production guys in the truck back there, where we don't hear it. They press a button to talk to us, but when we're not hearing it and we're on the air, whether it's breaking news and Thamel's got an injury going, or, an interview, a live person's not ready to go, it's like, all right, keep going. But they do a great job. We do have a really structured deal. We start on Monday morning. We have a meeting on Zoom with everybody on it. And then, we start getting ideas. Our features people are weeks ahead of us, looking at the schedule. Hey, we could be here. Let's do this piece on so-and-so. So, we do have a rundown that has structure in it. So based off of, going in at 9 a.m., we know what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, the way, guys are sitting out on days of games and injuries day to day, or, a home team that has an injury, you don't know until he does warm-ups. Like that stuff is full go. And that's why, I mean, Reese Davis, what he does with no prompter, or, just his own self-written notes, is still amazing to see in person, the way he could quarterback that thing, when you got all us characters up there, and, we're trying to figure out where we are, and he's just right there. That's steady that steady guy that keeps us in line and makes sure we're off the air when we're supposed to be. That gets a little chaotic too with the picks at the end. But no, there's a couple, I sit right in Herbie's line of vision. So there's a lot of, eyes opening at each other when something gets said in our ear or somebody's not ready to go or, somebody calls something on the show. But that's good. And yeah, it's a learning experience. I've worked with Scott for so long that we know each other inside and out. And that was my thing. Like, when am I going to chime in here? And Herbie's done a great job of bringing me in on certain conversations and get my opinion in there. So it's been a whirlwind, but I guess I keep going back. Energy, but fun. I mean, there's nothing better than being up there and talking ball with the guys. It's the best thing we have.
You've experienced a lot of great environments now in your career as a player and now doing what you do. Ran into you on the sideline of the Cotton Bowl at OU,
Yeah.
Texas this year. What do you think about that game, especially this one in particular? This was a great year to be there, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic finish, especially if you are a Sooner alums like us.
Yeah.
But what did you think of that entire experience?
Well, I never got to check back with you. I needed to check your energy level after that game. You were
Yeah.
Dude, that sideline was going, boy.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. It was to be around two of them. That was my first one, the Cotton Bowl. I mean, the State Fair right there. That whole day before, leading up, with people coming around, us going out and having fun, doing the different games and stuff. But to hear everybody say it's 50-50, is one thing. But then we're down there for the last hour. The field goal kick kid comes out in the middle of the warm-ups and Sark's down there watching it. Venable's got his guys going. The alumni from both, Boz walking around doing his whole thing, and with his intimidation factor where he just looks you in the eye and you're like, wow, that was my guy growing up. And here he is on the sideline getting his guys ready. But to hear about it being 50-50, but then to be in it. And here, I mean, no matter what happens, that stadium's rocking. And it's a lot like the SEC title game to be there this year for the first time with Alabama and Georgia and those brands that are up there with Texas and Oklahoma. But to hear, no matter what happens on a play, it's going to be loud. And then when the momentum swings in that Texas-Oklahoma game, I mean, Dylan Gabriel, the way I believe he's still the only person. No, Wyoming had one guy run for 100, but to see him just say, this is what I got to do to get my team to win and take the ball and run for over 100 yards. That was incredible to see that. And like, again, the momentum swings, the band's going, the sidelines are just as intense as there is, was really, really cool to see. And then to see, all right, we know the game was set up, whoever had the ball last, and then, all right, Oklahoma's got it. Here we go. And they go down and get the game-winning field goal, and to see that scene after it was really, really cool. Not often do we get there and the games live up to it, guys. Like we do this whole pregame the week up, game day the morning of, and then to get a game that lives up to the expectation was something that stood out for sure out of all the rest of them.
No, you got a good close look at Texas, and they've made their first college football playoff. Texas, Washington. I think that's going to be a great game. Texas, I mean, both of these teams really battle tested. You got to see the OU Texas game, and obviously they went down to Tuscaloosa. What do you think, Texas, Washington? It looks like it's going to be a great one.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I can't wait to see how this plays out because in my opinion, I think it's two of the six best play callers in the sport. When you look at Sark and Grubb, and when you look at Texas, seeing those guys, I mean, being on the field, you said it in Tuscaloosa, watching that D-line warm up, I'm like, oh my God, like that, it's just war daddies. The size, the speed, and the effect they have on a game. And that's why I always say you need to be a great team in college football. Your defensive line and your O-line have to travel. they have to travel and play. Those are the things that you don't see a lot when teams go on the road. Those teams, if they have a weakness, they get exposed. And to see Texas dictate tempo, whatever you wanted in Tuscaloosa was really eye-opening. But when you look at the matchup, I look at Washington as a team that's finally healthy. They ran a gauntlet of a schedule. When you look at those teams, you go to USC, you still got to deal with Caleb Williams. They get that, in the rain against Oregon State is a hungry team who's always, had that little brother mentality against you. And you do whatever you got to do to win that. You win your rivalry game. And then to go and win the Pac-12 championship as an underdog against a team no one thought you were going to beat for a second time. I think it was just a tribute to them, but I think the health of them was huge. When you look at the receivers, they got 3 NFL guys, and Penix has been good. That offensive line, the history of the Joe Moore Award in the playoff has not been good, but I will take my shot with this Washington team because I do believe in what they are. There's a real continuity with that, and I look at diving in. 3 of the 4 teams, the offense coordinators are O-line coaches. That's a cool thing to see. I know Sark calls the plays, but Flood is the OC there at Texas. But I think Washington has what you want to go against Texas. Texas is going to have to play a true freshman at safety, true freshman at corner. Both great players, plenty of experience. They still are true freshmen. And Washington has guys on the edge. And the other thing with Washington, as I don't know how effective they're going to be, but there's a balance to that offense with Dylan Johnson. Average almost 6 yards a carry in this last 6-game stretch where he was finally healthy. And you really saw that against Oregon where they wore him down. And when they had to run the clock out, they gave him the ball and they got it done. So I like Washington in this game. Their defense is going to have to handle those momentum swings. I would imagine Texas is going to have more of the fan base there, so it'll be louder when Texas is doing things well in New Orleans. But I do believe in Washington and Penix in this offensive game plan that they will bring to the table, which they need to be multifaceted. They need to have balance because if you let Texas line up front and they know what you have to do as far as down and distance and they can predict what's going to happen, they got to stay out of those situations. But I'll take Washington in that game.
We'll get you back to the interview, but first,
John Vance Auto Group has a deal for Oklahoma Breakdown listeners. Go to any of their 9 full-service dealerships in Woodward, Miami, and Guthrie. Tell them we sent you, and they'll give you $500 off. That's $500 off just because you listen to this podcast. They've been serving Oklahomans for 40 years, family-owned and operated. No matter what your vehicle needs are, John Vance Auto Group has you covered. They carry domestic brands such as Ford, Lincoln, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Wagoneer. John Vance Auto Group's goal is to give unequaled service and to exceed customers' expectations in every way. You can find all their information about their lifetime loyalty program, browse their entire inventory, and find the John Vance dealership near you at vanceautogroup.com.
And attention business owners, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
All right, back to the interview. What type of game are you expecting between those two teams? Over-under is 63.5.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because Washington, they can strike so quickly with those wide receivers that you mentioned, but Texas also has that element to them.
Yeah.
Do you think it just comes down to kind of how Ewers plays at the quarterback position for Texas?
No doubt. I think it's a monster spot I look at Ewers. I think Penix is going to play play well no matter what happens. We've seen them in circumstances like this, but with Texas, Ewers, missing some time, didn't get the full slate. So when it comes to postseason awards, he's not up there. But when you look at arm talent, game plan, balance of offense, I know they lost the running back, but they have guys. Stark has done a great job recruiting. They have two guys that come in and they don't lose a beat with that. But I look at Ewers with that combination of the offensive line. How much are they going to spend on, Sark loves those play action, long developing plays. Are they going to have time to do that? Because Washington has two, NFL guys all coming off the edge with Trice and ZTF. So when you look at Texas, again, them with the balance, you can't be in predictable situations in games like this because the teams that you're playing against are good enough to take advantage of knowing what you need to do in those, a third and long or second and long, stuff like that. So Ewers, yes, a lot on his plate, but again, Sark, I never worry about, a game plan. But I feel like Washington has a couple more playmakers, and that is the difference. I mean, it's definitely going to be more high scoring than the other game. When you look at what those two teams bring to the table as far as a defensive mindset. So yeah, I mean, being at both Washington and Oregon games, 36-33, both games in the 30, I could see that. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody scores 40 in one of those games. But again, the momentum swings and being able to handle that, I feel like Washington's been tested more than Texas, and that's another reason I like them.
What do you think about the quarterback battle? I've taken some heat for it, whatever, but I just think Quinn Ewers is okay.
Uh-huh.
I think he's got a really good play caller. I think he's got a great group of skill position players around him. He'll make some nice throws every now and then when things are on schedule. But outside of that, I just think he's okay. And I think Penix is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Am I crazy that I think that there's a pretty large discrepancy between the quarterbacks, that Washington is quite a bit better, and ultimately that's maybe oversimplifying, but that could be the difference in the game?
I feel the same way. Like I said, I think we were talking to Scott on the plane the other day. Who would you rather have, Penix or Ewers? And it wasn't even close. We both said Penix. But I will say, with this time in prep, Ewers is going to be set up to be successful. Now, when you get on the stage, what do? You got all the prep. You had plenty of practice. You watched every single game of them this season on tape. What do you do in these circumstances? Early on in a third down, do you take a chance and try to get a ball? I mean, he knows how strong his arm is. We know how strong it is. Does he gamble and take that chance to get a ball in there on a third down, or does he throw it away and play field position early on when teams are still trying to feel each other out? That's what I want to see on Ewers, because we haven't really seen it. The Big 12 game, the title game, they did whatever they wanted against Oklahoma State. You don't really get to factor that in. But when you look at the games that, they build up big leads, and then they've held on. When you look at, some of those games late, whether it's going to Ames, I'm trying to think who else came back against even the Houston game was weird. And I believe that's the game he got hurt too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think seeing Ewers on this stage, with what's on the line, this is something we haven't seen. Whereas Penix, I feel like we've seen more of him because he's probably played more college football than anybody not named Bo Nix. So no, I think all eyes are on Ewers. If they're going to win this game, it's going to be because he played well. And they're confident, talking to people around him, because they're around him every day. Us out here, we turn on the TV on Saturday, and that's what we see. So I'm with you there. I want to see what Ewers does on this stage.
So it seems like you like Washington in the Sugar Bowl. Looking at the Rose Bowl,
yeah,
I think this is where the conversation starts, Steve. Do you think Michigan can bully Bama at the line of scrimmage?
No, I don't. But I will say what I think the key to the game is Michigan's going to have to do something they haven't done all year, and it's not to their fault. They haven't had to. because of the teams they've played, but they're going to have to throw the football. They're not going to be able to line up. They'll get creative in the run game. They'll get your pin and pulls going. They'll mix in some zone. I think the injury of Zinter, losing him, being there at the Ohio State game was a huge factor. I don't think this Michigan offensive line is close to what they've been the last couple of years. And when you look at Alabama, they got difference makers up front. Dallas Turner's the real deal. Coming off the edge. Braswell is as strong as a kid as I've ever seen. I got to see him play. He's from Baltimore. Went to St. Francis. I remember him in high school, but just stupid strong dude that you get coming off the other edge. And I really, really like Alabama's secondary. There's a lot of conversation going in the SEC title game. Whose secondary would you rather have, Georgia or Bama? I was on Bama's side. I thought Texas, when they got them, they schemed them up. And in order to beat a Saban team, you got to take shots. You can't line up. Arjun, all right, let's see what we do on third down. You have to be able to take shots over the top, and I thought they did that to Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think Arnold's a better corner than he is. I know he's got the name and all that stuff, but when you look at a true freshman in Downs, who I think is just spectacular as a safety, I mean, an ultimate quarterback back there making plays. I feel like Michigan hasn't seen this kind of balance on defense. But again, you have this time to prep. Harbaugh's been really good at, just drawing up, self-scouting, right? As much as you watch the tape, you go back and watch, all right, what are our tendencies that when we get into a 3rd and 4, what's our number one play? What's a little, change up that we could throw with, say the same formation that we could get, an advantage of, going weak side or running a bootleg off of a run play. That's where Michigan has to be creative because when you look at it, J.J. McCarthy on this stage last year had 2 cataclysmic pick sixes against TCU. Those are why they didn't win that game. And now I can't imagine how long this year has been for him to get back to this stage and prove that wasn't him. That was a young kid on that stage for the first time. So I think a lot is on McCarthy. I think he has the ability to extend plays, and I think he's going to need to do that. Whether it's getting running for a third down or extending a play and buying time to let another guy get open. I also think their tight ends are a huge factor in what they do. And I look for against Ohio State, they got those guys loose for some huge third downs where we hadn't seen it all year because they were able to run the football. So I think getting creative in the run game and using the tight ends in the pass game where they could slip guys out when it looks like it's a run are going to be huge factors for Michigan to have success on offense.
Yeah, sometimes you never know. You kind of go round and round in your head over some things, but is it a problem that Michigan hasn't really been tested? And I know that Ohio State game was close late, but I mean, they have to be incredibly uncomfortable if they get behind
no doubt.
Scores. And that can happen. I mean, I don't think it's going to be some high-scoring game, but does the fact that they haven't really been tested this season, is that something that hurts them going in?
I think it does. Now, it's a credit to them. Again, I keep saying I don't want to take anything away from them. They've done what they've had to do to get to this position. But when you factor in, like you just said, they haven't been tested fully or multiple times even, and then you factor what's on the other side and who's going to be challenging them. Going back, I think the best quarterback they played is Tua Tagovailoa from Maryland. I really go through the schedule. There's not a quarterback on there. Now, when you factor in the athlete that Jalen Milroe is, I don't know how you prep for it. And when you get down to it and you line up, there's nothing you could do to prep for it because he's as different of a player as they've seen in 13 games. And when you look at, everybody was making fun of Georgia's schedule going through the year. I kept looking at Michigan's. I'm like, who's Michigan played? I get it. The Big Ten's down. But when you get to this decisive of a game in a circumstance, you got to have a lot of trust in yourself. And I'm sure Michigan does. But what's your plan B when what you've done doesn't work. And that's what I wonder about in the bowl pro. Like, all right, hey, how do we create for this situation? Because when you line up and it's a third down and you know that quarterback can run as well as anyone on the field, and it's a big time situation in the game, I don't know how you go about that. Do you account for more guys? Because then they have guys that could get open on the back end. And I think what's different about him is he throws a great deep ball. It's probably the best ball he throws. So I think Tommy Rees has done a great job in developing him and, being there, after the Texas game. I mean, he didn't play well, the bench, whatever, all that thing played out. To see him take the steps and then be in Atlanta and see the confidence he played with. He thought he was the best player on the field. You saw that the first couple series. So Michigan, in an idea of how they prep for a player like Milroe, that's the one that would scare me for Michigan.
So sounds like you're on Bama in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, we're to that point, right, Gabe, where it's been so long that you're like, all right, maybe I should start thinking about the other side of this game. But I mean, all the cliches, all you want. I just feel like Bama has the advantage. Now going in and diving into the numbers, I thought it was interesting how many guys Michigan has played up front on the defensive line, because that's what's happened a lot in these Big Ten versus SEC games. Though either side of the line of scrimmage gets worn down. Michigan should not get worn down on the defensive side. I do expect their defensive line to play well against that offensive line of Bama, but can they do it for a whole 60 minutes? Because they haven't had to. That's where you start seeing it. I mean, that's where the SEC schools with their depth have made a difference in the playoff games playing against these other conferences. So, yeah, Michigan being favored still puzzling to me. I would make the game a pick 'em. I really would. I think that Michigan does bring to the table, like I said, with that defensive side of the ball, a different type of Big Ten team we've seen. And, last year means nothing, but Ohio State played their best game of the season and lost to Georgia. I mean, C.J. Stroud was absolutely incredible in that game. And you go back and you look at the NFL guys Georgia had, and you see how well Ohio State plays. Then they lose Harrison, and it's just you being in that building, you just feel the air coming out of the ball as the fourth quarter goes on because of Georgia and all their players they had. So Michigan playing with a lead would be huge. If they can hang around, and they're going to need at least stay one possession. If this gets to double possessions, or double-digit score, I think Michigan's in trouble because, again, it gets back into the defense knowing what you want to do because you're down and you're trailing and you're going to want to throw the ball more, and that's not your strength. So I think Michigan playing with a lead would be huge, but I still think the athleticism of Alabama and their difference makers they have on both sides of the ball is the difference in the game.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that it matters necessarily, but is because I think all of the matchups could be great for the national championship. Is there one that you would prefer to see the two teams in the title game for, I don't know, storylines, whatever reason? Is there a championship game that you would like to see?
Well, I'll be selfish here. I bet the matchup of Alabama and Washington for plus 650. So I would really like to see that matchup. No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously everybody's calling for the Texas Bama rematch, which would be great in Houston and knowing the proximity of those schools. But I would like to see DeBoer in this Washington team get it done. I think they've found themselves. They believe in what they are. DeBoer's I don't want to say he's not nonchalant, but he's very even keel. And then to see being when we were there and seeing the way their teams practice, he's a different guy with his team. That's the cool stuff. I getting to see those guys not in front of a camera is always the most fun to me. So I would. Yeah, purple and crimson in Houston, that'd be a good mix, I feel like, for the people of Houston.
You're a Pac-12 guy.
Yeah.
And is there a part of you that's like, hey, the Pac-12's going away. I would like to see Washington to get to play for it all? And then does it also make you angry? No, he
Oh,
did.
it sucks, Gabe.
Yeah,
It really does, man.
I hear you, man.
Talking to guys around, old teammates around the holidays, and just remembering, going to I mean, we my senior year, we go to Tempe. We lose to Washington, but Washington had a loss to Oregon. So we got one loss. We need Washington to lose again. And we go to Tempe. Todd Heap's playing for Arizona State. And we know if we go there and win, UCLA beat Washington earlier in the day. They wouldn't say the score in the stadium. And like all our older players are coming up like, hey, Washington lost. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like, and then, that flight home knowing we had to beat Cal in order to go to the Rose Bowl, and that was going to be our last game. Like, that's the stuff. Like, I just remember every conversation, that plane ride home, the hotels we stayed at, going to the Rose Bowl for 2 weeks, and just living a dream. I said it earlier, bowl games were my favorite part of college. Everybody there. You don't have to worry about class or school. Everybody, hanging out, where we going to dinner, things like that. Going to Corvallis, Oregon, and hearing those people yell at and call us smart kids, like that's the stuff that it just sucks. Yeah, it sucks. Thinking about it, and this is what, like, about the playoff with the, whatever Alabama, Florida State thing, whatever people have said. This is what we were supposed to have for 10 years. There's only 4 spots. There's 5 Power 5 conferences. And going back to the Pac-12, they haven't been deserving of being in the conversation. But when you had everybody with a team that was a candidate for those 4 spots, someone was going to get left out and be heartbroken. It was supposed to happen every single year, and it happened the first year and the last year. That's just the makeup of college football. When we talk about, going back, what was it? The first one, we had 3 SEC teams in the top 4, with Dak Prescott at Mississippi State, and all that happened. So, but I just think, like, this is what it was supposed to be all this time. And I guess it is a shame that we didn't get more qualifying teams. The Pac-12 beat up on themselves, and then out of conference, they didn't play well. And, the Big 12 had some down years with that. And then, they always had a good team, but you weren't sure how good they were because the rest of the conference was down, and the coaching changeovers, all that factored into it. But it's just, like I've said for 4 weeks, there's only 4 spots and there's 5 Power 5 conferences. Someone was going to get left out. So, yeah, in a way, I would like to see the Pac-12 be there in that last stage.
This is the last one I got for you, man. You have always been more than willing to share your picks, whether that's TV, podcasts. You've always put them out there. How different is it now that graphic pops up every single time you got to do your picks on game day? Has that escalated, like, your interactions on social media? I can only imagine what people say when your picks are out there for the entire world to see like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. The first year, I think I've been doing it 8 years, is the first year I'm under 500, and it's the first year of my game day. And we know how many eyeballs game day gets. But I'll probably say I've spent less time on social media knowing what people like to say. I mean, it's just, gambling Twitter is so amazing to me because it's, everybody could pile on the loser after the fact, right? Like, I'll make picks in the 9 o'clock hour, and I won't hear a word until that pick is lost and the game goes final. Like, you had 6 hours to make a comment, but now you wanted to see how it played out. And then it's funny, the other night, like, I'm doing these things for ESPN Bet, and I give out Georgia Tech. I'm like, I really like Georgia Tech. They're an underdog. I would take it plus the points. I'd take a money line, whatever. I send it out. Not a word. Not a word. It wins. Not one. Hey, nice pick. Not one. It's just amazing to me how much people just want to pounce on it. And it's fun. I wish I could be better. And I'll always say, as Scott does, they're free. We're not charging you for them. It's something that we like to have some fun with. And it did go accordingly. I mean, I ended up doing 4 picks, I think, for the last gosh, 8 or 9 weeks. And the amount of times I went 2-2, it was just I couldn't get into that under 500. It was I think I went like 6 straight weeks of being 2-2. So it was we got a taste of social media reality. And there's not a lot of good stuff out there. So I will warn you guys if you are thinking about doing that. Just be ready to hear nothing good and only the bad. But I do appreciate everybody listening and watching.
You're the man. It's always fun catching up, man. Hopefully, we'll get to see you on an SEC sideline or two next year. Though you making the trip, though you making the change, should be interesting, man. You're the best. You're killing it. Appreciate the time.
I appreciate you guys, man, what you guys do, and yeah, let's see how these SEC teams are going to do coming to Norman. Also,
Yeah,
it's not about you going on the road.
Not worried.
They got to
Be
come to
fun.
Norman. Let's see that. I still think it's my favorite pregame hype video before they come out in the field. That thing is as good as it gets, and feeling that, and I can't wait to get back there and feel and see that because it's as special. Everybody talks about you guys going there, but they're also getting a damn good one with you guys coming in, and we'll see how it all plays out. That's for sure. These schedules are fascinating to me, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out. And let's get some guys out of the portal, and let's get that thing closed so coaches could actually work on practicing with the guys they have in their locker room. That's the stuff I'm looking forward to. So I appreciate you guys. Have a happy new year, and always here whenever you need me.
Appreciate you, Steve. Thanks, man. I love that, man. He's fantastic.
Good dude. Good dude.
What do you think about the picks? I'm starting to I like Texas and Bama. I've thought a lot about it. I've been leaning Washington for the last nearly a month. And these last couple days, I don't know why. I just think Texas is going to win. I don't like that I think that, but that's just where I'm at. I think it's going to be a Texas Bama rematch.
I think the Texas Washington game is going to be the best football game of the two. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think there's going to be a lot of points. I think Washington gets it done, and it's interesting that just like the general feel I get, and there's a lot of people that are pointing out how good Washington is, and I'm not saying that about those people. There's a lot of that out there, but it kind of feels like Washington it's so cool that they're there. What a season that they've had.
It kind of feels like Texas is getting that treatment too.
Yeah,
but they're a favorite. So
yeah, I think I'm going with Washington to win the whole damn thing.
Whoa. Kind of LSU 2019 vibes?
Yeah.
Just too much offense, too much talent.
Too much offense, too much talent, too big of a moment. They got the best quarterback in the group. I think the most consistent quarterback in the group. I think Milroe may end up there eventually, but like for right now with the weapons that he's got available to him, I think I'd take Penix.
Yeah, well, Milroe's got some type of hate shrine to Bill O'Brien somewhere in his house after hearing him in those interviews. My goodness. Let the hate fuel you, Jalen Milroe. That's awesome. We'll see, man. I think they're going to be fantastic games. How about some shout outs before we get out of here?
Let's do it.
First of all, and this was something we didn't mention on the last episode, but thoughts and prayers to Ryan Miner, his entire family. Dude's an absolute OU legend. I mean, just a complete stud on the baseball diamond, on the basketball court. Just one of the best athletes this state has ever seen. And, unfortunately, his battle with cancer ended, and it was really cool seeing all people share their experiences with him, share the stories. I read so many of them, and the guy was just an absolute stud, man.
Incredible. Yeah, junior year, he was the Big Eight Player of the Year of basketball and came back for his senior season, which was awesome. And obviously, 6'7" third baseman with the hose, ripping it across the diamond, dropping bombs. What a stud! Awesome. It was really cool to see, all of the highlights and hear from his old teammates and coaches. You hated the news, but I'm glad we got to share in a lot of his big moments. Really
Yeah.
cool.
Basketball team doing some cool stuff to honor him on the jerseys and stuff, t-shirts. So rest in peace to an OU legend. Not an easy transition, but birthday shout outs.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the world, Remington Ray Steele.
Happy third birthday to Mia Carter.
Oh, Mia Carter. She was in my son's soccer class. Let's go, Mia. Happy birthday.
Nice.
Happy birthday to Will McCullum.
Happy 16th birthday to Ashley Ramsey and Sonny Ramsey.
Happy 20th birthday to Joshua Crawford II.
Happy 26th birthday to Grady Kane.
Happy birthday to Jason Brown.
Happy birthday to Will McCollum.
On that note, episode 383 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Wednesday. So we'll be recapping what happened with the college football playoff. Probably do a little share some thoughts, some overall thoughts about OU's 10-3 season. Please be safe on New Year's Eve, people. We'll see all y'all in the year of our Lord 2024. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.